Welcome to Reselling Podcast. I'm Mike.
And this is Orlando, and we're on episode 354, an update episode.
Yeah, and we love our update episodes. Our update episodes are where we have an opportunity to kind of talk about the things that are going on in our life, reselling-wise, what's going on in the reselling community at large, kind of updates with things like eBay, Amazon, shipping, that type of stuff. We also give some amazing BOLOs. So BOLOs are things you should be on the lookout for when you're out thrifting, going to garage sales, doing any kind of sourcing, local deals, so that you can make the most money in your reselling adventures.
So what's been going on with you, or do you want me to get started?
Yeah, no, it's good. So a few things. I mean, I think I've, for the most part, got most of my inventory kind of figured out. It's still a bit of a mess because originally I had things like really well organized, but a lot of stuff was on shelves. So taking stuff from shelves into boxes and totes and kind of just finding space and combining totes made it a little bit of a mess as far as trying to get my like custom SKUs refigured out. But I think I've kind of figured out, this isn't my optimal system. Like typically I try and say like, okay, shoes go in one section, one tote or one area of my storage, and then other things go in other areas. And I think I've got a system, and let me know in the comments below if this sounds crazy. But because I had some death piles, and typically death piles, sometimes you have them in totes, sometimes you have them literally in a pile in a room somewhere. Orlando, I'm talking to you.
I hear you.
So, you have death piles. So my thought is,
it's gotten better, but go ahead.
When I took a lot of my inventory, especially the stuff that wasn't listed, and it was kind of like, okay, this tote is unlisted, this tote is unlisted. My thought was, okay, do I really want to spend the time listing all this stuff? It fits in this tote, and then finding new totes for it to go so that I have like almost two organization systems. Because if you have custom SKUs, if you think about it, it doesn't really matter if you know like, oh, my CDs are in this location and my random, because when you have like hard goods, a lot of it's just random stuff. Like you kind of try and categorize it, but when it's like, this is some kitchen stuff, but then there's also some random like, electronics, but then this one, like there's a lot of miscellaneous things. So my thought is, what if I just took a tote of unlisted things and I just listed that tote, and then like that became its bin. Like I use the custom SKU number, it just goes in that bin, and then it goes up, and then I just keep kind of that process going instead of trying to refine homes for everything. Now, the nice thing is if you have things a little bit more organized than that, then if custom SKU goes wrong, it's a little bit easier to say like, oh, I think most of like my kitchen gadget stuff is in this section, as opposed to like you've got 5 miscellaneous totes, which each have some random kitchen gadgets in it. So I don't know. I'm going to give that a try. I think it's going to make it a little bit easier for me as I'm re-going through and redoing my custom SKUs. That way I could start working on death piles without having to redo all my inventory at one time, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I have the similar system going. Like all my train stuff is in the same space. And so in case there's an issue where the custom SKU doesn't show up or I forgot to insert it, I know that it's there. Or even with my buckles, or even with, whatever it may be, like jackets. I know my jackets are on 3 certain coat rack systems. And so if they're not there, then I either sold them. And luckily now with eBay, you can go back on Terapeak and you can look back 2 years, and sometimes you sell stuff. And that's why when you relisted it on accident, or if eBay did it, there was no custom SKU label. So no, I get what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of going the opposite way though, because I'm going where I'm taking the chance that my custom SKU is going to work, because I'm saying like, I'm going to have probably 4 or 5, like literally just, they're all miscellaneous totes. They were like death pile totes that I didn't resort out, because I still have from when I had to combine all my inventory into random totes.
Yeah.
So I don't really have the normal, like, hey, all my kitchen gadgets are in one section. I'm going to have them like spread out. And I'm kind of just relying on the fact that the custom SKU system is going to work. And then as I kind of get things going. So I don't know, it's a bit of a gamble, but I think it'll get me rolling a little bit faster than trying to completely organize all of my inventory so that I have space and know where everything goes, and I can kind of just start getting death piles listed. So I don't know, it's not my normal, but I'm gonna give it a shot.
I think it goes both ways. I mean, on the benefit side of it is you don't have a large store, and so you can kind of get away with that.
Yeah,
right. There's only so much space. Like for example, if I lose something, I have 4 locations that I need to search through to find that, right? And then within those locations, there's totes and there's boxes and there's all kinds of craziness, right? Yours is all in one space. So If worst came to worst, and you had to turn everything over as like you're, serving a warrant on someone, you could find it. I think it's doable. I'm always a believer, like if you just get all the, eat the frog, get all the garbage that you want done right away, you'll be a lot happier in the long run. Before things really get out of hand. So I don't know. It'll be interesting. Just make sure you update us when, if things do fall apart, not just the good side.
Yeah. I'm hoping they don't, but we'll see. I think it's making it easy because like right now, my system is like 2 totes. So like I have a work table out in my garage, 1 tote of completely unlisted stuff, and then I have an empty tote. And then as I'm listing the stuff, I know it all fits in 1 tote because I pretty much had to cram everything in to totes to get it on the move when I moved out here. So basically it's like, okay, everything fits in this tote. So I'm just going to transport it over into the new tote once it's listed. And then that way it's kind of easy to go. So we'll see how that goes. I started doing a little bit of sourcing, which is nice. I haven't like seriously sourced in a while because I've been trying to kind of pare down my inventory before my move. Yeah. But I've been trying to hit up the different thrift stores here. I've obviously gone to the big chain stores, so I've kind of looked into the Goodwills and the Salvation Armies, and for the most part, it's kind of what you expect. It's a lot of the same of what we're used to. Some of the pricing is different. Every store has its weaknesses, so it's going to take me a little bit of time to figure out, like, okay, this Salvation Army, they don't know how to value pants, or they don't know how to value electronics, or whatever it is. That way, I can really get that unfair advantage and get profitable items at these stores. But what I really wanted to do is I wanted to find the hole in the wall mom and pop shop, non-chain thrift stores and kind of explore them. That way I have a better understanding of what's here, what's in this new city of mine. Like I need to know these stores, what's available. And so I've spent the last couple of days going to these stores, kind of checking them out. And it's been interesting. It's been interesting seeing a lot of different stuff. Like you talked about, I think it was a BOLO maybe a couple weeks ago, where you talked about the idea of hometown items like doing well, like home teams. Okay. So you talked about like the Padres and the San Diego Chargers when they were there, and the goals, and like specific teams for an area. And I'm in the city that I'm in. I've got a university, Baylor. So just kind of trying to figure out too, like, okay, there's tons of Baylor stuff. Now I need to kind of figure out which of these things is there a market for? What's the vintage? How do I find out what people are after? When are those seasons going to be? Because again, kind of the cool thing with universities is students will travel to across the country to go to a university. They go to that university, and then a lot of times they go back home. They go wherever they're from. And so if their family, their friends, and they want to start buying stuff, they can go online and they can buy the official stuff. But again, there's just something about the vintage stuff. Or, I went to this school, 20 years ago, and they had these really cool hats. And so people are going to turn to eBay. And so just kind of learning what the local things on top of the brands, right? Like when I was in San Diego, the jeans, the brands, the different brands we get, like they were, you'd occasionally find like the 7 for Mankind, and you'd find maybe some True Religion and Lucky, and those are kind of the brands where it's like here, obviously Levi and Wranglers are a little bit bigger, but then also I'm going to sound like a total loser for not knowing it. Is it Ariat? What's the brand that starts with
no, that's a Western wear. That's Western wear. Yeah.
So like kind of just learning like, okay, these brands that are not new, but they're new to me, right? Like I didn't really find tons of those in San Diego. I mean, you find some things, but okay, like we'd find boots, we'd find things like that in San Diego, but like I'm going to find more of those things out here in Texas. So learning the local stores, learning the local things, it's been a lot of fun. I've noticed a lot of the hole in wall stores here, they have some pretty cool like discount days or like discount things. Like one of them that I went to, one of the stores didn't have prices on anything. And so it literally was, you go up to the front to the guy who's the owner of the store, and it was like, how much for this? And you kind of negotiated with him a little bit. And so it's kind of a weird thing thinking like, all right, like I'm probably going to be in the store a lot. And so I want to make sure that one, you want to negotiate, but you also don't want to be the chump right away where this person's like, I don't want to ever make a deal with you ever again. So you kind of got to give a little, take a little. So it's just, it's different. It's different than what I'm used to. I'm used to negotiating at garage sales where you see the person one time, maybe you make a connection. I'm not used to negotiating at a thrift store where this might be a potential consistent place that I'm returning to, and I got to negotiate every time, every item. Like it's just a little different. So it's exciting. It's interesting. It's pushing me out of my comfort zone a little bit, which I think is important. It's important as a reseller to constantly be growing and changing.
Yeah, I've been thinking about you and the move because I ever thought, let's say for whatever reason I had to move, and I would say it would be devastating. Like I can't even begin to explain how devastating it would be to move to a new location. Now, granted, that's maybe because I have a lot more items. But I'm glad that you're continuing. I mean, we're all glad, right? Because this is the point of the podcast. But at the same time, like these kind of major moves can be pretty hectic. They can be pretty stressful, and so on. And so I congratulate you for moving and getting your stuff, and then also figuring out how to source, because that's the other thing. I get questioned all the time. I have a friend who lives in Indiana, and he says, "Hey, why don't you move out to Indiana?" And I said, I would love to. But one of my biggest fears is, am I going to be able to source the same? Right? Because here I have connections all over the place. I can go 24 hours a day sourcing within San Diego and never have a problem. My only problem is I don't have enough money to go sourcing 24 hours a day. And so, could I do the same? I don't know. Yeah, cost of living is cheaper, right? But is my opportunity to get items that will sell for good profit and fast enough going to be enough to live in somewhere else? And it seems like you kind of found like a sweet spot, and based on the comments from people on our YouTube videos or in the Discord or in the IG DMs, it seems like you're in a good place over there in Texas. So looking forward to I know eventually you're going to start having those major scores and so on. So I know that takes time too. So
yeah.
All right. So on my end, I've been focusing on listing inventory I had over the last 6 months that I just hadn't listed. So I had a ton of stuff, and you'd be impressed how organized things are right now. Like you can walk everywhere. Like there's hallways that are available to you again. Like it's really good. And what it's done is it's motivated me to list more. And so this is my encouragement to everyone out there who has these massive death piles, or you even have, I hate saying this, sounds terrible, death rooms, where it's just a ton of stuff. I will say, if you organize your place and you just take chunks at a time, it's going to be a lot easier to list. And what I'm finding is stuff that I've picked up, which I didn't think was that valuable, ends up being valuable. And so, for example, I paid like $3 for an RC a chassis with tires and a body, and I thought it was like a cheap brand or something. Next thing I know, it's like a vintage piece that's worth like $300. And so it's been kind of nice to, number one, I'm not a fan of donating stuff until I go through it, but I have donated a lot of items. I remember that big eBay buyout that we had, that store. I donated probably like 50% of the items. I did go through most of it to make sure. But it motivated me to make room for other items. And so I've been able to keep moving forward. And a lot of that stuff has sold pretty well. Now, I will give a quick update on my appraisal of my rugs, it's a non-update, but it's an update. And so a lot of people gave great suggestions. Thank you to everyone for all your suggestions. Some people had said, go to the original people that cleaned the carpets or the rugs. Some people had suggested this individual named Dr. Lori, who I've seen before. I'm kind of like leery about Dr. Lori. No hate coming my way, please. But she's like talked about Beanie Babies and defects and stuff like that. And I'm like, ooh, like there's a difference between an appraiser and a reseller. Now, they could be one and the same, but somebody who's appraising may not know what the market is really calling for, right? But at the same time, a reseller may not know how much something is really worth, and they know what it's worth in the market that they work in, but they don't know about the other tiers. And so I was like, maybe I'll go Dr. Lori. I think it was like $200 for like a half hour or an hour of them appraising. And then what I found, and I found this to the glories of social media like TikTok, that Sotheby's does free appraisals for items. And so the way it works is Sotheby's is like top tier, like top echelon as far as goods go. And I don't think the items I have are, but I'm either hoping to get rejected or hoping to get accepted, it's a win-win either way. So what they do is they have a free appraisal system. So what happens is they will appraise an item, and if they think it's good enough to go into Sotheby's auction, they'll obviously contact you. They'll, help you ship it out. They'll get somebody else to look at what repairs need to be done. They'll help you find people to repair the item, and then they'll put it at auction, and they'll make sure that people that are in the auction are good enough that they'll knock the auction up. So I saw something. I feel terrible. I don't remember who the username was anything, but somebody had found some chair like on Facebook Marketplace for like $50. And it was like this vintage chair, and they got a hold of Sotheby's. Sotheby's contacted them after, said, yeah, we're going to do it in the auction. And they actually found somebody that was an expert in fixing the chair. And they told them the hammer price, which is when the auction is over, is going to be probably around $40K, and they end up going to like $107K for that chair. And now, granted, they lost like, 20% in taxes, and, another whatever, Sotheby's got their other 20K or whatever, but they got top dollar, right? Because the right people were in the room to make that auction. That's, and if you want to take it to, on the lower tier, that's what Whatnot is about too. Right, Whatnot is successful if you have the right people in the room that want certain items, right? And so if you try to do a Whatnot auction, and it doesn't even matter how many followers you are, I would say have, except for the fact that if you have more followers, chances are greater that you're going to have the right people in the room to bid up a price. And so I decided to go with Sotheby's just because, if they say, yeah, it's worth it for you to sell at our auction, then I know I have something really good, and they'll actually give you the price. And granted, are they going to maybe not give you the top tier price? I don't know. But if it's going to go to auction, I would figure they're going to want the most money so they can make money and I can make money. Now, if they reject me and they say, no, your items aren't, good enough for Sotheby's, then that's fine. Then I know that I'm probably better off, selling this on eBay or some other site that deals with, luxury, antique, vintage goods. So we'll see what happens. It is a long process. I mean, I just sent the information, so I don't know how long that's going to be. Then after that, then it's whenever the auction's going to be. And then after that, it's 45 days after that you get paid. So this can be a long thing. Now, the great thing about it, if you heard our last episode, our themed episode, is that I already made my money back and I've already profited on everything that I bought. So now we're just looking at, how much can I make? And it's funny because one of my good friends who's in business, we were talking about this, and I said, I just want to list something on auction and just see where it goes on eBay. He's like, no, why would you do that? Have you not learned from the railroad lantern story that maybe everything is valuable and maybe everything you have is not valuable? So stay tuned for that. I haven't posted yet anything on social media or anything because I don't want to just leave this cliffhanger and come back to it 2 months later. I want it all, just at one time to share. So we'll see how that goes. And then, sourcing garage sales have been kind of brutal. Not much out here right now. It's middle of July though, and it's super hot. I mean, not as hot as it is for you. By the way, I don't have my AC on in solidarity with Mike, just so he feels better, if that even helps.
Yeah, look, man, I'd be happy if at least one of us was not, burning up right now. And it's nice because I can afford to run the air conditioner here in Texas. Like the electricity is not a control like it is there, but I'm in my garage where I don't have the air conditioning, so it's fine. It's fine. We'll get through this. It's the things we do, and we're hustlers. We make it work. But yeah, it's been hot here too. I mean, there's been a few garage sales. I was gonna go to some this last weekend. I actually had some family visiting. People coming to check out the new house, the new town, kind of support us and all of that. So I haven't done the garage sales. I've been doing more of, like I said, thrift stores, things like that, a little bit of local deals, just kind of getting to know the area. There were some garage sales the last couple of weekends, and, Friday garage sales seem to be even bigger here than they were in California. Even some Thursday sales. The problem, though, again, is I think they're starting to dwindle out because the heat is just out of control. But again, it's one of those things where finding how to find the garage sales. Like I I learned here that finding garage sales on Craigslist, and maybe it's something that we were doing wrong even in San Diego, because I would say for us, 90% of the garage sales we would find, at least for me, we were finding on Craigslist, right? Because it's the easiest. The nice thing too is you get the map feature. I know you kind of found it recently, but the map feature, has been like kind of my go-to just to determine, even if I was just random, like I was driving, like, oh, there's a garage sale, let me stop here, and then I'd pull up the map on Craigslist and see, is there any others in this area? Or maybe I got skunked out in an estate sale I was planning on spending most of the morning at. The map was very helpful with that. Now, Facebook Marketplace seems to be where most of the garage sales here are being posted. And the features just aren't as good. I mean, you don't have the map. You can put in like, hey, 20 miles from this town or 15 miles. So you can set your radius. You can set when it was posted, type of a thing. But not having that map is brutal, because you're pulling up the listing for the garage sale. You're like, oh, okay, this one looks good, and then you're like, oh, that's way over here. And so planning out the route takes a little bit longer. It's one of those things where you kind of have to put in all the addresses on a separate document of where you're hoping to go, and then throw that into one of those route finders and kind of plan your route out that way, which again can be tricky when you're dealing with things like some of these garage sales start at 7 a.m. and some of these garage sales start at 9 a.m. and this one's because then you're kind of dealing with that too. So it gets a little funky. I really wish that, and maybe somebody knows, if you're a listener, you're watching this right now, let us know in the comments below. Is there a way to make it easier on Facebook Marketplace to find where to plan out a route? Because I feel like it's really tough not being able to say, like, I just want to see all the ones in this location. Now let me go over a little bit further, and not having that is a little challenging.
Yeah, I get that. And that's why I go with I go to the ones I want to go to first, regardless of what time. I mean, I'll go to ones that start like at 9, at 6 in the morning if they have items I want. And sometimes I waste my time because they're not even open at all. And sometimes I end up scoring and everything's all good to go. So that's good. Now, before we move on, talking about organization earlier with custom SKUs and items and all that, my Reseller Genie is an awesome tool that I use all the time. And I the nice thing about it and the bad thing about it is that it runs on autopilot, right? So I haven't really touched my Reseller Genie recently just because I've been so busy with stuff. But I know if I ever want to go back and I want to know how much I've actually made in a certain month, I can go in and put how much each of my items cost, and it'll give me a profit loss detail. It also, with taxes, it's very simple. It just imports everything from eBay, and you're able to do your taxes, which is something I'm going to be starting here soon because mine are due in October. Not because of extension. We had flooding or whatever, and they extended ours, which was kind of nice. And so my Reseller Genie has been a great tool for me. So if you are freaking out, you haven't done your taxes, or you just want to, make sure that you're on top of your numbers, go to my Reseller Genie in the link below and use our code Pure Hustle all caps, and you'll get 15% off the first month. Again, that's go to the link below and use our code Pure Hustle all caps, and you'll get 15% off the first month. All right, now random stories. I got two. So the first one, I'm just slightly annoyed at eBay. Well, what's new, right? But it's so crazy how people can get your listing pulled if they really want to. Like, it's just wild to me. And so I had a pair of shoes that someone had started messaging me and saying, these are fake. Not only were they fake, they were telling me they were illegal fake. Like, I was going to get, warrant served on me or something. Like, no one's going to come after me. Okay. And I ignore, so a non-response for me is a response. So if people message me, I don't respond. Sometimes it's, you email us and we're kind of busy, but so don't take it that way. But for the most part, if I get a negative message on eBay, I don't respond to people. Like, I get people at least twice a week that say something I have is fake all the time. Sometimes it may be legitimate. Sometimes it's a competitor. Sometimes just people that have no lives. So this one, I was kind of like, all right, well, what do you want me to do? Like, I've sold this item before. The person returned it because it didn't fit them right, but they never once said it was fake. I did my research. I made sure the item wasn't fake, but this person kept messaging me, and I think they got upset when I sent them an offer. And but the problem with eBay is you don't know who you're sending offers to, right? You just send them out. So I sent them out and they just replied. They're like, hey, you sent me an offer. This is illegal. Make sure you pull it down. I want to make sure you don't get negative feedback. And maybe they were a listener. But for me, to me, it's like I did my research. It wasn't fake. And if somebody really had a problem with it when they bought it, they could just return it to me. Well, next thing I know, I get this notification from eBay saying that, we're pulling your item because it's counterfeit and fake and you're not allowed to sell this item.
I wonder who reported you.
I don't know, but
obviously the person who posted it reported you.
Yeah, I know that. But what I don't understand is how simple that was for an individual to do that. That means if I really don't like a YouTuber or somebody out there and I want to stir up some trouble, I could just be like, hey, this item's fake. And I could just report that person. And maybe it just takes one vote for that item to get pulled to cause trouble. You know what I mean? And I know there's been others. I remember Rockstar Flipper dealt with somebody doing stuff like this to him and a bunch of others. And it's just like eBay needs to do something. Like, for example, I'm not a new seller. Like, I've been around for 12 years on eBay. I have 100% feedback. I have thousands of positive feedback. And for one person at one time to just say, hey, this is fake, you should pull it. Like, I don't think that's right. But I don't know if this was a rant, but just be aware. Again, it's one of those items I'll never pick up again. It was a luxury shoe. And, it was like, along the same place of like Chanel and Louboutin and all that stuff. And I won't pick up those items again just because it's sometimes I think it's just people's perception. And so I don't want to deal with it. So that's my random story.
There's also the benefit of the doubt of, the people, a lot of times people who are buying those things like really, really know how to spot a counterfeit. And so maybe it was somebody who was just kind of trying to help you out and they weren't the one that reported you.
Yeah, maybe.
And it could potentially be a counterfeit. Like, not that you were intentionally trying to sell it, but like maybe someone knows like, oh, if the stitching is that color in that location, then so who knows? It might not just be as simple as, hey, I don't like you, I'm gonna report you, and that's gonna be enough to take you down.
No, I agree. I think they had good intentions. I don't think they had bad intentions. I'm not bothered by the person necessarily. I'm more bothered by it didn't take much. That's what I'm bothered by, right? So yeah, for me, it's one of those things where it's like, hey, I'm never gonna put my store at risk. And so once eBay said enough, then fine. I don't need to sell it. Whatever. I count it as a loss. I'll report it on my taxes as a loss, and I'll move on. So now I got another positive story, but do you have any random stories you want to share?
I guess it's kind of random going back to that idea of just trying to get used to a new place. I feel like I'm introverted, but I feel like I'm a pretty nice guy. I'm not, I feel like I get it. I'm a Californian moving to Texas. Like there's stereotypes. There's a lot of people have opinions on that. I get it. I understand. But like me and my family, like we're like, okay, it's not going to be so hard for us in a lot of ways because we're nice, we're friendly. Like it's going to be great moving to a place where people are friendly, and just realizing like there are certain things that are different with the people here that I'm going to have to get used to. Like, so every time I do thrift stores, like I said, especially those hole in the wall ones, or just going to somewhere like Walmart or going to someone like Target, people are a lot friendlier. They talk to you more, and I'm just not used to that. And I'm realizing like, wait a minute, I think I need to get friendlier, and learn how to small talk. So the negotiating, I feel like in California, and again, this is one of those things where it's kind of just eye opening, because we push negotiation in a certain way, and when we do like our YouTube videos, and we do negotiation, it kind of has to do with the locale where we're at, like the people, the kind of the culture. And I feel like it's a little rougher in the sense that people there's not as much small talk going on. We still do small talk. We like to, hey, I want to be nice. I want to be friendly. if I ask you, hey, how's your day going? Oh, I see. Oh, the cute dog you have here. Things like that. You're going to have a better time at the garage sale. But I'm just noticing like at thrift stores, like, man, people are wanting to talk to you and have conversations. And I'm not the like wittiest person. Like I'm not quick on my feet. And so I'm catching myself in a lot of awkward situations where I'm like, I don't know what to say right now. Thanks. So anyways, so one of those things happened today. I was at a thrift store, and they were doing 20% discount for teachers. And so I was like, oh, I've got a teacher, and then like I was trying to like finish, like I was trying to pull it up that I have like a teacher card. And she's like, "Oh, you have a teacher. That's nice. Did she teach you anything?" And I'm like, "Oh, I mean," and then she was laughing, and I'm like, I'm super like feel awkward because I don't like I'm not quick enough. And so just things like that, or another place I stopped at where I was negotiating for a musical pedal, like a guitar pedal. And the guy was messing with me, joking with me about, getting it from Van Halen and all that. So we're going back and forth. But and then he was mocking me in a joking way about my driving skills, trying to find the place because he saw me circle around a couple of times. And so just the randomness of like just getting used to interacting different, in a different manner. And so I'm finding myself not as fluent, if that makes sense, right?
No, I get it. The reason I get it is because I grew up in the Bay Area in San Francisco, and people are just mean out there. Like, everybody, I always learned that like the way you look at people is you mean mug. And if you guys know that you that are from the Bay that are listening, you know what I'm talking about. And you never make eye contact when you get on the bus, like stuff like that. And then Southern California, people are just fake, like just fake, right? If they're trying to talk to you, they have an agenda. Like they're trying to get something out of you, right? But when I went to Wisconsin, people were just nice.
Yeah.
They're just saying hi, just to say hi, just to make conversation. So I get what you're saying. So, but luckily, you are a nice guy. I'm a nice guy,
but it just goes to show like you can be dialed in somewhere. You know what I mean? With your tactics, your techniques, and all of that. And it's just amazing to see like you go to a different place and you're not necessarily going to be as dialed in. Now, again, adaptability, learning how to adapt and adjust. So, but yeah, it's one of those things where you kind of would have had to have been there, but I don't feel like I'm typically in like super awkward situations in conversations. But a couple of times these last few days, like I catch myself like, I don't know how to like interact in this way. Like I need to get a little bit better at small talk and just being friendly for the sake of being friendly. And again, I'm a friendly person, so it's kind of a weird thing to experience, but yeah, so that all that to be said is, some of our listeners or people watching YouTube videos, they make comments on, I can't believe you negotiated that way, or you shouldn't do it that way. And again, it's like, you can't judge another place in the way the people are there based off of where you are. Like, cause
that's a good point.
Every place is going to be different. And so just recognizing that is, it's kind of interesting.
So you're talking about adapting. And so this was kind of interesting. So our good friends, Aladdin Pickers, had messaged me out of nowhere, and we've been messaging back and forth, but I have not seen those two guys, Christian and Adam, since 2020 sometime around that era of our lives. And it's because they had a lot of clothing inventory that they sourced, and they sell books, and they kind of were like, hey, like, do you want to pick this stuff up? You're going to be interested. And I was like, all right, fine. So we connected for the first time in like 3 years, and it was really cool because I did the whole like touring of the warehouse again and how things have changed. And it was comforting to know that like everybody's having to adapt, right? And when we first met up with Christian and Adam years ago, and we did an interview. If you want to check it out, it's like one of our earlier interviews on the podcast, probably one of the best ones we've had. Hearing their story from selling books with bookshelves in their living room to having multiple warehouses, it's pretty fascinating. So I went to their place, and it's really interesting because I asked them some questions, how have things been going? And they said, a lot has changed in the book selling landscape. They sell more on eBay now than they do on Amazon. And I was like, really? That's weird. Because everybody is all about Amazon. And it's easier to sell on Amazon because you just got to scan it, right? And if you want, you get enough books and you put them in a box and you ship it out to FBA. But the reason they're doing that is obviously competition's a lot tighter now, and the margins are a lot lower on Amazon than they are on eBay. So they're really going into trying to find, vintage books without barcodes, and they're doing better going down that route. Also, a lot of their stuff that they had to sort out their inventory, it was really proprietary. Back in 2020, when I visited them, there was certain angles in my Instagram stories I couldn't shoot. There's some videos I couldn't post. And now, like, everything's out in the open because everybody's caught on to it. So it's kind of interesting. They have a conveyor belt that they use. And in this conveyor belt, it has like these little like wood panels that like push books into certain gaylords. as to where they need to go. So if one needs to go to Amazon, it'll push the book into Amazon. If one needs to go to somebody that buys books that don't have much value, it'll go into that bin. If it needs to be a local deal, it'll push it into that. If it needs to be sold on eBay, it'll push it into that Gaylord. And so AI, it's an AI software, and it's really taking off. And we have more AI to talk about today in our reseller topics, but AI is definitely revolutionizing things. And I want people to be aware that it will change the reselling landscape. It's changed them. I would say, and maybe this is just my observation, but they probably had a quarter of the amount of people working there than they had 3 years ago. And they're only in one warehouse now. And a lot of this is because of the economy, but a lot of it is because of technology changing, right? Because of AI being able to sort out all these things, they don't need the human labor that they had before, and they would be sorting out the inventory. And I was like, wow, this is pretty wild what's going on here. Pretty automated. So, but they're doing well. They're still keeping things profitable, and they've had to adapt a lot. And so I want to encourage everyone that's listening to keep adapting. You know, we don't know how much longer this will be. I mean, things are looking better. I mean, it depends, you know, what political side of political you're on, but you know, the numbers right now, inflation has gone down. We're still double the inflation that we need to be, but inflation has gone down. Employment continues to do well. And so who knows, you know, maybe we'll be in dire straits in 6 months, or maybe things will be exploding again. I don't know. I do know election years are notorious for somehow things improving in the economy, unless you're looking at the presidency of Jimmy Carter or Hoover and so on. But we'll see what happens. But adaptation is definitely key. So I had a great time with Aladdin Pickers. Did pick up a ton of vintage gear, and it was interesting because it was like a time capsule, because these were all items that they had sourced like in 2016, 2017, 2018. And a lot of the stuff had great value, and a lot of the stuff, the market was not there anymore. And so it was kind of cool because it was just a time capsule of stuff that they sourced. And again, I say this all the time. I find that my best deals, aside from, you know, the local deals or the collectors that are just trying to offload stuff, sometimes comes from resellers who just, you know, they don't, like they had said, you know, we hate listing clothing, you know, having to measure it, having to take a picture, dealing with the returns. And I was able to get a great deal and pick up a lot of great items. So shout out to Christian and Adam. Make sure you follow their Instagram and their YouTube channel. Yeah. All right, before we move on, thankful for everyone who continues to support us on Patreon, has made our quality of our podcast even better because the equipment we were able to buy. So if you haven't yet signed up, go on over to Patreon. You can go to the link below, or patreon.com/PearsonPodcast. And for $5.55 a month, you can help support the podcast, which allows us to continue pushing out free content. And there's the bonus of jumping in the Discord and meeting with a bunch of sellers, from Amazon sellers to eBay sellers, people that do retail arbitrage on Amazon and on eBay, and just people to just, you know, to be in community with. So join us there. And also on social media, we are Pearso Podcast on all social media platforms except for Twitter. We are Pearso Cast, and we are now on Threads. So come on over to the Threads. I gotta tell you, Threads is a mess. I don't even know. There's no hashtags. So you go on there and like it'll be some reselling stuff, and then boom, like some random IG model, and then some picture of cats. Like I have no idea how the algorithm is working, but jump on over to the Threads. It's Twitter like. I don't know. I'm just posting there and hoping that, you know, we develop a community there. And we also, what happens when you get on Threads, you pull everybody from your Instagram into your Threads following. So not really sure what, but join us there. So, yeah. You can always give us a call, 619-738-1170. That's 619-738-1170. Or shoot us an email at puresapodcast@gmail.com. That's puresapodcast@gmail.com. And as always, if you're listening to the podcast and if you haven't watched us on YouTube, jump on over, hit that subscribe button, smash that like button, hit that bell notification so you're not missing any of our uploaded videos like our Monday minisodes. And as always, thankful for everyone who drops an iTunes review. We are the most reviewed and the #1 reselling podcast because of all of you out there. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
Whew, that was a lot. All right.
A lot. Great job. You did it, man. You did it. And now it is time for the USPS ground advantage has changed. How did it go? eBay continues to use AI, and Amazon had the biggest Prime Day ever. All of that and more on Reseller News.
There we go.
Oh,
all right. So
I think you may have muted yourself.
Am I gone?
You're back. You're good.
Okay.
No, you're good.
I don't know what's going on. Okay. So if I go away again, okay, I'm going away now, but am I gone from the screen?
No. You're good.
No? Okay, I wonder what happened. That was a glitch. All right. So USPS ground advantage switch happened, and it was it was a nothing burger. Like nothing happened. Like I know there was a lot of like people like, oh no, what's gonna happen to our first class items? What's gonna happen here? Are we gonna have trouble shipping stuff out and everything? And no, everything was just fine. So, couple observations though. One observation is USPS ground advantage is a plus if you sell items that are more than £1, but you don't want to pay priority because you have that option now. The negative side of it is it's more expensive, I would say, depending on what part of the country. Sometimes I've had stuff to the East Coast and it wasn't that expensive as it was when we had first class. But other times it was more expensive. Like, for example, something was like $7.20 to ship. And if I shipped it priority, it was like $7.40. And I'm like, well, might as well just ship it priority. Now, maybe it was seamless for me because I went to my business policy. So if you're wondering what I'm talking about, go to my eBay. Then when you go to my eBay, go to my account. Then when you go to my account, go to my business policies. And when you go to my business policies, go to shipping policies. And in there, you should have templates created as to, you have one for like, let's say shoes, one for clothing, one for whatever. So I have anything that was first class paid or first class free. All I did is I went in there and I changed it from first class to USPS ground advantage, paid or free, and I was good to go. And nothing changed. It was fine. So I will say I kind of like it. I like USPS ground advantage because it's also brought in parcel post in there. And so it's just one blanket and it's pretty easy. I thought it was interesting because if you ship like spray cans or cologne or whatever it is, it's supposed to be parcel, but now it goes under USPS ground advantage. So is it going in the air? No, because it's all ground. So it makes it easier. I don't know if that makes sense, but
yeah, it's good.
There you go. All right, this other story I thought here was pretty interesting. This whole idea of AI, and the reason I bring this up is because I think we're still trying to figure out what's going to happen with eBay. And so I'm gonna can I Mike, ask your permission? Can I get into conspiracy theory here a little bit? Is that okay?
Yeah, sure. Let's hear it. Let's hear it, and I will correct you if you're wrong.
There you go. You always do. You always do. So this comes from VentureBeat. The story is how eBay is using generative AI and computer vision to enhance customer service. And by the way, do you know what the abbreviation for customer service is? It's CX. So if you see that means customer service. Okay. Something new I just learned. Okay, so, all right. So the story says e-commerce giant eBay aims to revolutionize its marketplace by integrating generative AI and computer vision. With these technologies, eBay aims to enhance its understanding of customer preferences and deliver a highly personalized shopping experience. So if you're trying to figure out what generative AI is, it's basically AI that is able to create things. So for example, the big thing that was trending on social media a few months ago was like you could put your pictures, you could upload an AI, and then AI would create these new images of you, right? Or sometimes you may see now people are doing this with like they're creating rap songs and like Kanye is rapping on it, but it's not Kanye, it's the AI that's rapping and it's creating somebody that is Kanye, okay? Or it could mean a bunch of things. So I think eBay is going down this road when it comes to, for example, when people are going to be shopping. I had mentioned this kind of joking a few months ago, but wouldn't it be cool if like you could see the item on you and so on? I think AI is going to be going in that direction. So I think pictures are going to be even more important. Here, Mikhail Bovrov, who's head of this AI department, eBay, said, "We've doubled down our investment in generative AI and computer vision technologies because we believe that they have transformational value for impacting the customer experience." So I thought that was pretty cool. Now, I thought this was the conspiracy part. So they had this whole section called the need for AI governance. And it says eBay emphasized data privacy and ethical development as fundamental principles of integrating generative AI into business functions. According to Bobrov, establishing governance and implementing clear guardrails enables individuals to navigate among safe and permissible areas within the organization. So the last quote said here, "We are actively exploring how to leverage these foundational models while accounting for their limitations, including lack of diversity. For us, it's not just about solving the immediate problems that are very obvious, but it's about looking at the harder problems that will take some research to figure out solutions for." So I want to land here for a little bit, and I'm not going to get political, but there's this current thing. I don't know if you've ever heard of ESG. Okay, yeah. So ESG is a new business thing, and it's basically that it's not just about how much money a business is making, but it's also their environmental impact, how they're impacting society, their governance, and all that kind of gives you, to break it down to a very simple concept, into a social credit. Right. And so that social credit gives you the ability to be recognized in different avenues of business. And it's kind of like this badge, right? Kind of think of like a credit score, when you have your credit and you're trying to apply for, leasing something or applying for a credit card. It's the same thing with businesses. I do believe, and here's my thoughts in that last statement that they made, that there will be the possibility in the future that AI will be able to go through all our business practices and our messages, and based on that, the algorithm will push our items. And the reason I say that is because AI is already able to do that with a lot of stuff. So like in the medical field, AI now is able to get the medical records of millions of people, and based on people's race, based on their medical history, based on their family background and so on, AI is able to make decisions on diagnosis for individuals. So why couldn't I to eBay, right? Where eBay now will begin to say, okay, how did this individual deal with their customers in the long run? Not just their feedback, but in their messages. How was their messaging? What kind of items are they selling? And so on. And AI does have the technology to do that. So my 2 cents, and I'll let my takeover after this, is just be very careful. Be very careful in your messaging. Be very careful on what you're selling. I know a lot of people are like, oh, I don't know. I've seen some sold, so I'm gonna skate by. I've sold this item before, even though it's not allowed. Or, I really don't care what eBay thinks about my messaging to a person. I don't care if somebody thinks I'm rude. I'm really upset. I'm gonna let them have it. I do think in the long run, AI is gonna collect all this and it's gonna go into the algorithm process. Thoughts, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much will be included. I mean, the ESG, there's other elements at play when it comes to that with businesses. I understand where that's coming from at like a big macro social level for across multiple businesses. But if you drill down into a business specifically at a more micro level, like eBay obviously wants to make profit. They're going to spend money on things, right? Like to develop and then implement AI. So like certain things, like just implementing the AI description in, the item description. There's probably
that's like base level.
No,
that's like base.
No, I understand. But what I'm saying though is like certain things like that, like putting money into that, putting money into the background removal. Because anytime a company is going to add things to their system, it takes money, it takes time, it takes energy, it takes processing power. So my thought is they're going to put money into trying to figure out how to make AI work for them in order to make them make more money. Now, I don't know how beneficial it would be to a company like eBay to start inputting a lot of random factors into their algorithm. Now, I agree with you. I think that they certainly can start to implement more things. So you used messaging as an example. Like, do you have good customer service? And I think that that's already in play to an extent, based off of more surface level factors such as what's your rating like? Do you have negative feedback? Are you able to resolve issues? So like those are making like a very probably basic score, and I'm sure that does go into an algorithm because if you've got a reputation as a good seller, eBay is going to be more likely to work with you. They're going to be more likely to push your items up. Now the question is, how many things are they going to start adding into this? Because every element that they add and have to start is going to require more money, more time, more processing. So if it's not something that directly impacts them and their ability to make money, so do I think that they could add things like, do you have good customer service? Yes. Are they going to go into messaging? Maybe. Are they going to base it off of certain items you sell? That could be. Now, I think what could happen is I think some people are going to freak out with, okay, well, what if I'm posting things on social media that, doesn't line up with the, what people agree with?
You mean like us?
Well, yeah. Okay,
well, like, whenever I do the eBay memes, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like they're all in good fun, but will that count against us?
Yeah. I mean, so no. And so I don't think that's going to impact you right away. Or even like personal
right
stuff.
Away.
Well, even like personal stuff. I think like the average person is probably thinking like, hey, if I'm I post a meme that's socially unacceptable on a private account, my personal account, is there a way? Because all of the stuff is connected. Like if you realize like when it comes to, like, you accept cookies, you accept whatever, like your data is being shared. Like it wouldn't be that difficult to figure that stuff out. I just don't know. Like, I think the conspiracy theorist mindset is going to be, and I who knows, maybe down the road we go that path as technology gets cheaper, where every little thing is going to be tallied up, and whoever's in power gets to decide whether or not you're on the right side or the wrong side. And then based off of that, yeah, things like your eBay can be impacted and everything can be impacted, your normal job. But I just don't think we're there. I don't think eBay is going to care for most things other than, hey, are you delivering your items on time? I think that's going to be the stuff that's going to go into the algorithm first. Like, do you get your items shipped out on time? Do customers receive their items on time? So all the things we already are saying are important things to do and be careful on, I think those things are already in the algorithm. I just think that as AI comes, it's going to be more efficient. They're going to be able to go a little bit deeper. I don't think people need to worry, at least now, about like personal social media accounts and whether or not they're selling items that are, I don't know, or even your messaging with people. I think there's a certain point where people can freak out. I don't think we have to worry about it yet with that kind of stuff, probably ever. But I think basic business practices, I think, is going to probably play more and more of an impact. So your feedback, your reliability, your reputation, I don't think you have to worry about, hopefully you don't have to worry about like stuff you say in private at home. Like if your phone listens to you, is that going to end up on your eBay algorithm to hurt you?
Yeah, no, I'm not there, but I think anything that eBay has access to right now will be used. That's just my thoughts. I think your messaging will play a role. What you sell will play a role. I mean, they're even talking about they're looking for equality, right? That's what they said. And I don't want to get into what all that means, but the only way you make things equal sometimes is by taking, right? And so what will that mean for the algorithm? I think it's an interesting language. That's all. And again, I didn't want to make this a conspiracy theory. Let us know your thoughts below. I just think we're delving into this new world of AI. And I think within a year, things are going to look entirely different. If they're not, you can mock me in the comments. But I do think we're going to be looking. I mean, we've already been talking about, 2 months ago, we're like, wouldn't it be crazy if AI was able to like sort out clothing at thrift stores? And then a week later, it's like, yeah, there's stores that are sorting things out with AI. Or wouldn't it be crazy if AI were able to, fill in descriptions? A week later, AI's filling in descriptions, right? And things that we think will take time to process or, it's going to take a long time. Like the speed of AI is insane at how fast it can pick up knowledge and figure things out. So yeah, it just, it just cracks me up. Remember we were talking about like, if you ever speak anything negative about AI, like you're going to be doomed in 20 years because the AI will remember.
Yep.
All right. Yeah. Let us know your thoughts. Interested in your thoughts. All right. Let's move on to something less opinionated here. Amazon Prime Day. So this was shocking to me. So this is from Forbes. It says Amazon sells 375 million items on Prime Day, posts biggest day in company history. Which I was like, wow, this is phenomenal, right? Because everything happening, people are still buying. So the story says the first day of Prime Day was the biggest of sales in company history. Amazon announced on Thursday, helping to boost shares to their highest level in close to 10 months. So I'll just read you the key facts here. Throughout the 2-day shopping event, customers purchased more than 375 million items and saved 2.5 billion with their Prime deals during the event. Prime Day, which is viewed in 2015, featured sales on items of all kinds. Independent Amazon sellers sold more than Amazon's retail products, the company said. So that means all the third-party people did really well during this time. And so I looked at this and I thought, no matter how bad things get, like people still want to buy. Like it doesn't matter. Like there will always be buyers for items. So this kind of gave me a little bit of hope for Q4. Actually, a lot of hope because no matter what, there's always something that people want to buy. So I don't know. Amazon always shocks me. And I even bought stuff on Prime Day because there were some good deals out there, and I'm like, I'm gonna take advantage of these deals. So. I think it also is very telling to buying habits that, I'd rather buy stuff. I never step foot in a Walmart anymore or a Target or any of the stores. I buy everything online and I just pull up and they just bring it out to my car. Like I don't like going into stores anymore unless I'm doing retail arbitrage. So did you buy anything on Amazon, Mike?
Yeah, actually, if you look at my background right now, that was a Prime Day purchase.
The Kramer?
Not the Kramer. I've got that would be. I actually bought like a painting of Kramer. No, but I've got a green screen background right now. Because if you were watching previous episodes since the move, it was kind of just like my unorganized garage, which looked pretty bad because Orlando's still in the studio, and so I had to kind of sharpen it up a little bit.
Well, your background looks better than mine, so I still got the waves
a little bit of time and energy
going on over here. There you go. So yeah, that's pretty much it as far as stories. I mean, I do have let me see. There was one more topic to discuss here. Let me pull that up real quick. And it was just basically there are missing items in eBay stores. So let me pull not in eBay stores, in the thrift store. So let me pull this up real quick here. Unless I get blocked by the newspaper that's like, oh, you must subscribe. But this is from the Sun Sentinel. They say goodbye to $1 vintage records. Thrift store chains are cashing in on vinyl resurgence. So let me read this real quick. These are sad days for thrift store record bin divers in South Florida. The region's major thrift store chains are cashing in on the vinyl resurgence, leaving weekend collectors to pay more for used records through the chain's online sites or find alternative marketplaces. For years, Gulfstream Goodwill, a division of Goodwill Industries International, serving Palm Beach, St. Lucie, Okeechobee, and Indian River counties, carried used records. Not anymore. Since March, records have been missing from the charity's 25 thrift stores. Instead, donations of records, books, CDs, and all these other items. So basically, the gist of the story is, as we've been saying for a long time, is that thrift stores now, not only are they just picking what's the best, they're just not selling certain things in their stores anymore. And this goes along with the trend that I think we've been saying this since the beginning of the podcast, that thrift stores as places to source will eventually, I think, come to an end. And I don't think we're there yet. There's still a lot of good thrift stores, but I would say here in San Diego, it's done for me. There's one or two I'll go to.
So I think that's going to be the case with like the major chain stores. But again, that's one of the nice things about trying to find the local hole in the wall. Because even San Diego, like, there are tons of small thrift stores. Mom and pop stores are going to be where you're going to find the best deals with that. Because they don't have the time, the money, the energy to be putting that effort into utilizing artificial intelligence. They don't have the warehouse. They don't have the infrastructure to do that. So like, for instance, I went to one today and I picked up, like I said, that guitar pedal. I paid $5 for it. It's like a $60 guitar pedal. The guy had a lot of stuff in his store, and he knows value of some of it. And it's just one of those things where he just doesn't have the time or energy to look up everything, doesn't care. Like he was willing to get rid of it for $5. Whereas again, like if you're going to a Goodwill, they threw it through a conveyor belt. The conveyor belt's going to identify that, and it's not going to ever make it into the store. So I think you're going to have to move to the mom and pop shops for a while, and then again, utilize that time to find other ways of sourcing. Like garage sales are always still going to be your bet, local deals. And eventually, I mean, who knows? Maybe things change, because eventually I feel like people are going to get tired of going to Goodwills if all the Goodwills have just turned into basically retail stores. Like it's an online retail store, and there's certain things, all the good stuff isn't. And someone's going to make a thrift store where they say, hey, look, all we do is people donate stuff. We throw it out there with basic prices on things. And next, those stores are going to be doing better. People are going to be going there. And then maybe the original thrift store model actually takes off. Like, wouldn't that be a funny pendulum swing? Like
that would be.
The thrift stores go more they go more legit and more like intentional with their products and try to be more like fancy, and people don't want it. And they go to more traditional thrift stores, and those are the ones that do better. And because, I mean, that's a profitable model. I can't imagine a mom and pop shop, they're getting stuff donated for free for the most part. Like, yeah, maybe you sell a couple things underpriced, but overall you're making great money. And if people are willing to come to you instead of going to Goodwill, you're going to be the most profitable. Hey, maybe now's the time to start a thrift store.
Could be. I mean, everything, we've read in our research from '08 and other bad economic times has been that thrift stores take off. I mean, this wasn't one of our reseller topics, but did you know that Savers is now a public company that you can buy stock in Savers? Yep. Now their stock hasn't moved much. I think it opened at 18. It's at $23 a share right now, and it's been 23 for like the last few weeks. But I did not invest because I have flashbacks of Poshmark, which I did not invest in Poshmark, but Poshmark doesn't even they're not even public anymore because they got bought out by a Korean company. So, but their stuff tanked. It was bad. But I think Savers, like, they're a for-profit thrift store, and I think they're gonna possibly keep things in their stores. Like, you're right. There's gonna be different thrift stores that are gonna handle things differently. So, again, I don't think it's the end, but as for me, it's been the end for a long, long time. So, all right, that's our reseller topics. All right, are we ready to? I think what everybody just fast forwards to on the podcast.
Oh, no. People love everything. They love the whole stuff. But this is the special part.
Bolo. What's your bolo?
Yeah. I got the new one on. You notice that?
Yeah, I did. I can't tell them apart anymore. Like, they're all cool. So,
yeah.
All right, what is your bolo?
When I was pulling up the new one, I should actually, we'll do it on another episode. I pulled up the little clip that came from. Let's see what. Maybe I can. Oh well, I'm not gonna. I'll do it in the future episode. But it's kind of cool, like the little spot that the guy who edited that used from like our talking about it, and like I even went shoot, and like he used that to make the sound effects.
Oh really?
So, yeah, it's kind of cool. Like you can hear it raw, uncut, unedited.
Seriously, if anybody wants to make new sound effects, especially for like reseller topics or hustle, or like we're always open to new sounds.
That's right.
Go ahead.
All right. So my bolo, I don't think I mentioned this last time. No, I didn't. So my wife during our move, she broke one of her dishes. Like most of our stuff made it, but we had bought for our wedding, or we didn't buy. Someone gave us as a gift, a very generous gift, a bunch of Pottery Barn dishes. And so our whole dish set, the plates, the bowls. My wife's really big on hospitality. We have a lot of people over. And so it was kind of devastating because like now we don't have the set, and it's like, like we have people over and we may not have enough now. And so I spent forever trying to find a replacement for this Pottery Barn plate. And a couple of things I noticed, and this is what makes it a bolo. Like one, I knew Pottery Barn is a decent brand. We don't do a lot of plates and dishes in China. I've sold some China. I've been semi-successful with China Spode specifically, a couple of other brands as well. I don't typically like selling China, but there's a benefit in selling like one-off plates as replacements for things like that, or plates, bowls. Now, a couple of things I noticed. So style is important. Obviously, sometimes it's a long tail item. Like ours, I think are called like the Great White something is like the name of the cut. And then there's like the diameter and all the different factors that are on this. But one thing with these Pottery Barn plates is so many of them are like made in China. There's some that were made in India, and the design is a little bit different. The ones that were made there, ours, the ones we have, and I don't think we didn't do it on purpose. It just so happened that these were the ones that we bought, or that were gifted to us, were made in Sri Lanka. And so finding, because in order for it to match, it needed to be ones made in Sri Lanka to have all the right stuff, was almost impossible to find. Like we found them on another website, but they were selling for like almost $40 a plate. And so I'm like, holy cow! Like if I was in a thrift store, I mean, what does a plate, just like a 1 or 2 off plates, go for? Like $1, $2 max. Yeah. And if they're selling for $40, I mean, so it's just a killer deal, and it just goes to show, like, you never know what's going to be worthwhile. So Pottery Barn as a brand is a BOLO, and then just knowing that like the where things are made can make a difference. So a lot of things, the average I think is probably going to be like made in China. One of those things is going to be probably more likely. But if you see something that's made somewhere else, made in Germany, made in Japan, made in Sri Lanka, that could add value, because people are, if they're trying to replace, and it's more rare, so it might be a little bit longer tail, but you might be able to actually get higher dollar value. So the BOLO Pottery Barn could be valuable, and then the made in Sri Lanka, we knew personally was valuable. Maybe some others are even more valuable than that. So that is my BOLO.
Yeah, I would say Pottery Barn, like even like kids' bed sheets. Yep. Pottery Barn, anything Pottery Barn is always worth a look up. I mean, back in the day, I've sold some for good money. It's been a long time, but there's money to be made there. So, all right, my BOLO is you're probably too old. Goosebumps. Did you ever read Goosebumps when you were a kid, or watch any of the shows?
Man. Especially the Choose Your Own Adventure Goosebumps. Those were great.
Okay. Anything Goosebumps, man. Like I recently at a garage sale picked up an entire set of Goosebumps stuff. It was like all 62 of the books, and then there were some extra, like there was like a 9-book lot, and then there was another book, and then unfortunately they took out all the inserts. So there's like these bookmarks and these like cards inside each of the books. But they took them all out and they put them to the side. Now, if you can get a book that has them inside, like some can go for $50 to $100 plus just for one book. But even the whole thing, like, all 62 goes anywhere from $300 to $700 online used. And so I went, I remember, I'll never forget. I saw it the night before. I planned my route, but I was like, it's probably going to be gone by the time I get to the garage sale. So I show up at the garage sale at like 9 a.m. And listen, I don't know how things like this happen, but it's there. But why is it that every time an item that I want to buy is there, somebody gets to it within seconds before, even though it's been sitting there all morning? But the moment I want to get to it, somebody wants it. So I go to it and I see this lady and she's looking through it. And I'm like, oh, are you interested? She's like, yeah, I want to buy it. And I was like, oh, all right. So I did the whole fake, like looking at other items thing, waiting to see if she's actually going to buy it. So then she spoke to the lady that was selling it, and she told her she wanted like $10 per book, or it was like some number that the lady didn't agree with. And so she walked away, and I looked at the lady that wanted to buy it. And I'm like, sorry, are you going to buy it? She's like, no. And I'm like, oh, yes. Okay. So then I asked the lady, I'm like, how much do you want for all this? And she's like, oh, these were my kids. This is kind of tough. I got to be at $25. And I'm like, yeah. And I did try to negotiate at 20. But anyways, she wouldn't budge. So I bought for 25. Here's the crazy thing. So I haven't sold a whole 1 through 62, but I listed like there were 2 Goosebumps pencils, a bunch of insert cards, some other random like pieces, and I just lotted them all up, and those sold like in 12 hours for $20 plus shipping, which maybe I lost money, okay? But I paid 25 for it. So I already made a good amount of my money back. Then there was other lot of books. There were 9 of them. And they weren't part of the original set. There's like these different, books that were written like kind of like the side, books that were sold. And those I sold 9 of them for $20. So I'm already at $40, and I even sold the major item I sold. So I sold a miscellaneous lot of 30 plus Goosebumps items, inserts, pencils, bookmarks. And then the other one's a Goosebumps lot of Reader Beware, You Choose the Scare, first printing or whatever. And I know those. I did my research, and I sold 9 books for $20. And so once I sell the other major thing, I'm going to turn that $25 into like $500 or, at the lowest $300 net profit. So definitely a bolo. I think we may have discussed Goosebumps at some point or somebody had said it, but it's just crazy. Just crazy to me. And the only reason I know they're valuable is because I know my kids loved like the shows and the books. And remember, they always were scared of Slappy. Remember Slappy? Is that his name? The dummy?
The like puppet thing or the
yeah.
It was not a marionette. What was it? It
was a dummy, right?
Yeah,
it wasn't
dummy.
A
Yeah. Ventriloquist.
Is that okay?
That's what it is.
Is it okay to call them dummies?
I think
All right,
so.
Just checking. Just checking. So that is my bolo. All right, what are you looking for? Oh, before we talk about what we're looking forward to, hey, we haven't talked about them in a little bit, but Skull Shaver keeps us nice and clean. And I got to tell you, I don't ever want to go back to razors. I hate it when I cut, and I got scarring on my head from razors, but Skull Shaver gives you that nice clean look of a razor, gives you that shine. Like we can see Mike's shine from a Skull Shaver. So if you haven't yet, you can go and use our code Pure Hustle. Go to the link below, and that'll give you a discount off of Skull Shaver, and keeps you looking so fresh and so clean.
Yeah.
All right. So what are you looking forward to here, Mike?
Well, gosh, I want to say garage sales, but I think I missed it. I think I missed it for a few months, or at least maybe not months, at least probably 5-6 weeks. We got heat waves coming in. So I guess just continuing to learn the area through local deals, kind of learning some brands here. So really I'm in a learning phase right now, on top of reorganization. So learning I enjoy doing, organization I like the outcome of. So I enjoy seeing my store moving back in the right direction. I hated that I had to kind of have it on pause for a while. So I'm just looking forward to just the resuming. I feel like I got some good stories again. I'm finding some things. I'm doing it, man. So it's good. It's good. And I think to be honest, I have a little bit more pressure here. So I took a pay cut coming here to teach here, which is fine in a lot of ways because my money goes further. But you know what it's like when I was reselling part-time there, it really was just almost like fun money because I kind of, it started off pretty serious. And then because my wife stayed home, and then I got pretty decent raises at work and some opportunities came up. So it wasn't as like crucial. And I think I'm at a place now where it's like, okay, I think I want to step up my reselling, really have that fill in some of the gaps I've got here. And as much as it's like, you never want to be in that position, there's something like kind of encouraging about being having that fire underneath you, because when you kind of have to do it and you move forward, like it's exciting at the same time, because then you progress. When you have no other choice, you really start to move forward and progress. And so I'm excited for that. What about you? What are you looking forward to? Yeah,
there's just something about being organized. I love it. So, I mean, Mike, I wish you were able to be here because it is nice. Well, another part of it is I had people coming over, and I haven't had anybody coming over in a long time, and I had to, because I realized it looked like a hoarder's house because I had stuff everywhere, even though I purposely live here to separate things. And yeah, everything's separated. It's really nice, super organized. It keeps me motivated to, keep listing and so on. So I'm looking forward to organizing more. I want to list like crazy. I want to make sure that I come through this Q4 with no regrets. I will say the last Q4s, I was kind of bummed. I feel like I didn't do, my potential. And it's okay. I mean, I enjoyed. I wanted to spend more time with family and so on. And I'll be real, I just got lazy at times. And so I want to spur that moment that I had, in 2020. I'll never forget, taking that picture of the white van with me walking away from it. Like I saw, I conquered, and I want that again. And so I want to walk away from this Q4 really well. And so I'm going to list like crazy. I got plenty of inventory that I can list. And then on top of that, I'm looking forward to hearing back from the rugs. Whether it's I get rejected or I get accepted, it'll be nice to move forward and see what I can do. And then that's something else I can add into my breadth of knowledge as to, looking out for in reselling. So there you have it.
It's good stuff.
Hey, thank you everyone for tuning in. Really appreciate everyone that continually tunes in on a weekly basis. And with that being said, hopefully you're making some great profits, and make sure to be real.
Be relevant.
And be reselling. Late.
Peace.